Hello, hello. I hope you are doing well and dandy. It is 9:19 p.m. in Denver, Colorado. Wherever you're at, I hope you're staying present and getting after it. Let's get into it. So today's email excuse me. Today's email, like I said yesterday, is another in the news kind of style of email, another relevant topical email. And this one's actually really interesting because he literally says what I've been saying since yesterday, I guess. What the point of these emails of why they're great nurture emails and why you can use this kind of email to hook people in and then make it somehow about your product. So this is the last time, I promise, I'll talk about Trump's tariffs. And you'll see the relevancy also of what both of these guys are saying, what Orskowski said yesterday and what Daniel Throssell is saying in this email. So you'll see. By the way, my hair is all over the place because I just got out of training jujitsu and I'm like kind of gross right now. Anyways, so subject how my prices are changing due to Trump's tariffs. I mean, great hook. Who's not opening that? Super relevant. I can't imagine there's a low open rate on an email like that. You have to open it. It's because it's in the front of your consciousness. When people talk about things over time, or even when something's going on in the news, it takes up space in your consciousness, in your like, or it at least allows the opportunity for it, right? Because if you don't know about it, then you're not going to think about it. But if you're kind of like going about your day and you're hearing about things all the time, that's something you might think of, which is why a lot of people don't watch the news, right? Because it's a bunch of, it's great for hooks, as we'll see, but it's also a lot of nonsense. So, a couple of days ago, US President Donald Trump announced a 10% tariff on all imports in the United States. These tariffs do not affect American businesses selling to Americans. But as you probably know, I am an Australian and therefore although I greatly regret this, oops, sorry, I should be, there we go. Apologies. Although I greatly regret this, I'm forced to announce effective immediately for all my customers in the US a price rise to all my products of this giant thing. Lol, just kidding. I sell digital products. Tariffs don't apply to me. At least I don't think they do, but be prepared for this email to come back with a vengeance if I find out they do. Anyway, this is usually the kind of thing I remain blissfully ignorant in my life. Let's take a side note here. Isn't it interesting that like these marketers that are just pumping out a ton of content and they have their own funnels and they're doing a bunch of shit, you could say. They're not watching the news. There's something there. There's a reason, you know, blissful ignorance most of the time is it's very beneficial for your productivity and probably even peace of mind. Anyways, since I have adopted a no news policy for many years now, the reason being I know my mind is not a perfect reasoning machine. More data does not produce better results. In fact, clouding it with too much irrelevant data actually worsens my decision making by distracting me and making me worry about too many things rather than focusing on what I can control. So I actively avoid news, social media, and anything that does not have a direct, meaningful influence on the way I live my life and the choices I make. But unfortunately, a couple of the few newsletters I followed really rudely jammed this particular tidbit of news into my consciousness in the last couple of days. So me being me, I figured I would turn the annoyance into something useful and at least get an email hook out of it. This is something I don't do a lot these days because I don't really watch the news anymore. So this is what I'm trying to say. This is why I'm sharing this email as well. I feel like this is another email where it's not like there aren't a bunch of comments on the side, or we're not going over every technical thing. Kind of feels like I'm just reading someone's email, which I am. But I think the point of these kinds of emails is again the nurture element of them. The nurture the power to nurture your list and to get their attention and to build a relationship with something that is topical. That's all. And then you'll see. So this is something I don't do a lot these days because I don't really watch the news. But if there are any downsides of not watching the news, and I really don't think there are that many, one of them would be that I can't use news stories as hooks for my emails that much. Putting your spin on news, even if just to leverage it into a hook to sell your own stuff like I'm doing now, is one of the best ways to get people to open, read, and engage your emails. For many more, check out my email copywriting compendium. So he just used a principle. This is very meta. He used a principle that I'm talking about, and he's selling this principle in his course, which he has his turn right here, his transition into his CTA. Just $101 for now until Trump decides to tax info products too. Little melty face. So, I mean, yeah, that's it. Very, very simple email. Very simple style. Go watch the news if you want a headache. But also listen. If you don't watch the news, you're like a lot of people nowadays. Just listen for what's happening and talk about that in your emails. No matter what you're selling, you can use it. It doesn't always have to be something chaotic, although in the news it's always chaos, let's be honest here. So use it, have fun with it, and I'll see you here tomorrow. Peace.